Hey everybody, thanks for watching the Arkansas Gun Guy, where today I want to take a look at the two 10mm off-range from Sig Sauer, the P220 and the new X-Ten. Those are the only two pistols offered by Sig in 10mm. If you're in the market for a 10mm pistol, and you should be because 10mm is the best caliber, there's always offerings out there from the 1911 makers, as well as Springfield and their XD series, as well as Glock, and then these two from Sig. I will also mention that H&K does not make a 10mm, and H&K, if you're listening, hey, thank you for listening, but also make it. If you make a USP in 10mm, you'll sell the world flat, I promise you. You don't have to pay me for that. I'll just buy one from you at full price. So 10mm from Sig. Here we have the P220 and the new X-Ten. The 220, if you look on the website, this version is not available. They only have in 10mm the P220 in Legion, which is the gray finish with black grips, and it comes with both double action, and single action only. This is a double action, single action hammer fired gun. Again, apples and oranges versus a striker-fired polymer gun. But again, they're both chambered at 10mm, and if you're in the market for 10mm, these are two you should consider. I'll do kind of a close-up side by side and let you kind of see what you like or dislike about both of them. So just a lot of side by side. I'll do a safety check as well. So drop the magazine from this guy, and we're clear. And the 220, which is heavy, at almost 4 pounds. Single stack, also clear. So let's start this way. Just looking at all the boring dimensions, they're both massive guns that are really heavy and just big. The 220 is 8.8 inches long versus 8.5 here, so just slightly longer than the X-Ten, just enormous. Width-wise, this guy's 1.5 inches wide versus 1.3, so a little bit wider as well, which is interesting because this is a single stack, but it's still wider than the double stack X-Ten rather. So the old P220 is longer and wider. Height-wise, this guy is slightly higher, 5.5 inches on the 220 versus 5.6 inches on the X-Ten. The barrel's 5 inches on both, although the shape's slightly different. You'll see, I'll take them apart in a second, you can look closer. Bull barrel on the X-Ten versus a standard barrel, I think, on the P220. Weight-wise, again, massive. This guy is 33 ounces, almost the same weight and size as my USP, but this chunk here at 44 ounces is a beast to hold, but that also eats recoil, which is great. Sight radius, if you look at those, the X-Ten slightly shorter in sight radius up here versus the 220 at 6.8 inches sight radius versus 7.0. So nice big long sight radius on both. And capacity wise, the 220 is unchanged from its 70s roots at 8-round single stack versus the magic of the X-Ten and the 320 series. This guy holds 15 rounds of 10mm goodness. So that's pretty darn crazy. I am a metal frame hammer fired fan, but this guy is simply just a wonder with that much capacity and such a great trigger in it, which we'll look at in a second. So again, love both of these guns, but they are different. One's bigger and heavier, and one's more modern. So let's just take a look at them kind of front to back. I'll start with the sights actually, because if you look at the sight picture, the X-Ten, the black one, is about half the price of the 220. Not quite, but it's quite a bit cheaper. And I like the sights better on the X-Ten. You've got the night sights up front with that vision, with that view, versus the 3-dot setup on the P220. Both really good, both really accurate. I just really dig those Sig night sights. Looking at the details on the left-hand side for right-handed shooters, you're both pretty happy. Takedown lever here, as well as the slide catch, slide release here. You have a decocker on the 220 versus the nothing on the striker-fired X-Ten, and the mag release here. Take a look at the decocker, and this is double action, single action. If you don't know about that, you can cock the hammer, have it ready to go. There's no safety, but you can then decock the gun by pushing this button. I'll turn this way so you can see better. And there you go. So, so that's the difference on this side versus the other one. Flip it over to the left-hander's side, the right side of the guns. There's not much on the old 220 for a lefty like me. Just basic looking stuff over here, and at least have a slide catch, slide release over here on the X10. And the mag release is reversible. I don't know if it is on the 220. I've never tried to reverse it. I've actually just learned to adjust as a left-handed shooter. I'll just eject it with my right hand. So again, I've done the safety check already. The other big difference in these guns is the optics ready version in the X10. The old 220 is just 3-dot sight, no option for optics. The X10 is cut for the Romeo 2 or Trijicon RMR. They highly suggest the Romeo 2, A, because it's new and expensive, but also I think it's built to withstand the torture that a 10mm recoil would provide. So, no optics and optics ready here. If you also look at the pick rail, quite a bit of difference there. Let me turn them sideways again. You have a shorter rail here on the 220, which is longer, just giving you this dust cover that overhangs a bit more, versus the longer pick rail, so maybe a few more options or bigger options on the X10 as well. Takedown on both, pretty easy, so I can do this real time. Actually, let's look at trigger before I take them down. So the triggers, again, this guy, double action, single action, big, heavy pull for first pull. I don't know the weight, probably 10, 11 pounds, but then when the gun cycles, you reset is right here, nice and short, and beautiful break. So one more time, reset is here, and there's your break. So it feels really, really good. And again, you do have the decocker here, so you can load one in the chamber, and then drop it in, and you're good to go. So really nice trigger there. But I do think, as much as I love hammer fire guns, I think the trigger on the X10 is even better. So I'm gonna rack the slide, and this is gonna break at 90 degrees, right here. Oh, nice and clean and crisp. Reset. Super short right there. Again, and there's the reset. So great triggers on both. I really think I like the flat triggers, and I like to break at 90 degrees. This one feels a little cleaner, a little more crisp in my hands. So now let's actually take a look at the magazines really quick. The X10 again comes with a 15-round magazine, double stack or staggered, which is a lot of 10mm, versus the single stack of the 220. They both come with 2 magazines. Again, 220 holds 8 versus 15 in the X10. All right, now let's look at the guts of these guys. So bring this guy back. Takedown's pretty easy, like any standard 320. Just turn the takedown lever down. This one is a little stiff, but release it. You don't need to pull the trigger, and off it goes. And here's the guts of the X10. I've cleaned it, so it should be in pretty good shape. And we'll look at those side by side in a second. And then you got your recoil spring, captured, really, really stiff spring. And then your 5-inch bull barrel. And we'll look at the barrel side by side in just a second as well, so you can see. So that's the inside of the X10. Oh, the guts on the top on the slide. Very heavy duty construction here, nicely finished inside. Again, both these guns are made in New Hampshire as well. So there's that one. And pull back the 220. Being left-handed, it's harder. I'm gonna take down lever down, release, and slides right off. And here's the guts of the 220. So it's just a beautiful gun. The fit and finish of this gun is remarkable. I hate to say it, it'll probably be more of a safe queen. I'll probably get more shots out of the X10 because it's easier to throw in a bag and just shoot. Or if you're hiking, throw it in your backpack. Again, captured recoil spring here. We'll look at those side by side in just a second. As well as another 5-inch barrel. Again, slightly different shape. See the rifling in there. And again, the slide of the guts. So looking side by side at the recoil springs. Kind of a flatter spring here, super stiff, and then metal guide rod with this spring setup. I don't know the weights of these, but they're both super heavy to handle all that recoil from 10 millimeter. Looking at the barrels, again, the X10 is called out specifically as a bull barrel. The 220 is not. This one appears to be a little bit thicker. I actually probably should weigh them. Different profile with the X10 on the bottom and the 220 on top. You can see locking mechanism down there is a little different. Easy for me to say, as well as back profile slightly different up here. And again, this is the X10 over here. They're looking at the interior. Again, the X10 is the black and the 220 is the coyote color. And finally, let's look down insides. And we'll throw them back together, and that is just a really quick down and dirty view of the two awesome 10 millimeter options from Sig Sauer. That if you're in the market for 10 millimeter, I would put these on your list for sure because they're both great guns. And there's the X10 again. Reverse your steps, barrel back in here, recoil spring in. Slides this way. Lock back, turn up, decock, and there you go. So again, two great 10 millimeter options from Sig Sauer, the new X10 from the P220 series, and the good old standard P220 that was introduced in 1970 that is still awesome today. Thank you guys so much for watching my channel. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks.